Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Social Talk with the Doc series. Today, I have a special guest, someone from one of my favorite TV shows on Netflix, Gentefied, and who's you've probably seen in a number of television programs as well as movies. My special guest today is JJ Soria. Hey, how are you doing today?
What's up, bro?
Hey, I appreciate you joining us today and being willing to, essentially open up your life and share your life story with myself and my students who will be watching this discussion.
I'm an open book, so ask away, bro. I'm good.
All right, thank you. Now, with the Social Talk with the Doc series, I oftentimes challenge the individuals that I'm interviewing to pull back those layers of that onion, the onion being their life, and to define their sense of self. And part of defining that sense of self is getting to understand where someone grew up. What was their family unit like? What type of schools did they go to? Where did they go to school? So I'm going to tackle some of those topics as we discuss or as we continue with our discussion. But let me ask you that question. Where did you grow up?
Originally born and raised in El Sereno. Actually born in Boyle Heights at White Memorial Hospital, but raised I claim El Sereno, but the majority of my life was raised in the San Fernando Valley. So I moved out of El Sereno when I was 9, over to the San Fernando Valley, and adolescence and all that, growing up over there. But I always claim El Sereno because I had a lot of trauma in my life, and actually the building blocks of who I am are based off of my life from El Sereno.
So you go from El Sereno to the San Fernando Valley. Is that a culture shock at all for you?
Yeah, big time. Because it was so quiet, at least when I first moved there, and I wasn't used to that. So
yeah.
being able to hear all the crickets or stuff like that, I was like, wow, no helicopters, no, it was just different. But and the environment, of course, you know what I'm saying? There was no paleta man, there was no, there was ice cream man. Until the ice cream man come around, but it was just a different vibe. So yeah, it was different.
Definitely. And one of the topics that we discussed in sociology is that culture shock. Right? That idea that when we're removed from our comfort area, our comfort zone, how now we have to relearn at times who we are. Right? And so that being said, I understand you were only 9 years old at the time, but did you see a difference in your persona when you went from El Sereno to San Fernando Valley, if you can recall? I know it's
yeah. I remember getting on my bike and just start cruising around like I did in El Sereno. I got on my bike and I wanted to make friends. I'm pretty sociable. So I went out there and there's some kids on the next block playing baseball, and I think I just linked up with them and just started hanging out with them, a bunch of white kids, and which was different compared to being El Sereno, was all Hispanics, so Chicanos. So like those became my buddies, and that's who I hung out with. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I can answer that one.
You made an excellent point as far as the diversity goes and the difference between the two communities, right? What many of us have been in these bubbles, and having grown up in East LA myself, growing up in a bubble primarily of Latino Hispanics. And so everyone you interact with, at least through your childhood years, look just like you.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, what type of experience was that like? Was that like leaving your bubble of El Sereno, where people look just like you, to now going into the San Fernando Valley, where I assume, I don't know though, but you may be the only individual of a darker skin tone?
Well, it was different. Like it was different in general. Like okay, because you're kind of having me think about things I haven't thought about in a while, right? So I remember there was so much change going on during that time, bro, for me. I go back a little further because I do want to talk about the real building blocks of who I am. Is like,
yeah, definitely.
When I was 4 years old, I saw my dad hit my mom, and that was like a big traumatic experience for me because I was someone who I adored. My father, I adored him. And then I saw him do that and I disowned him. Like from that moment on, it went from adoring this man to being terrified of him. And to the point that like all through school, I didn't use my last name, Soria. I used my mom's maiden last name. And for a little kid at 4 years old to make that decision, like I don't want anything to do with them, and to carry that out, like that had to be heavy. You know what I mean? A heavy experience. Then after that, I got bit in the face by a dog that I trusted. I could have ripped off my face, literally. There was that, and then like after that, I had a head injury. I fractured my skull, and that fucked me up. And then I was molested, and that shit fucked me up. And then like then the kids in my neighborhood, they used to steal my toys, because my mom was a single mother, you know, right? So she spoiled me with like things. So I had like good toys, and in the neighborhood, a lot of kids didn't have that. So we were kind of like the neighborhood kind of felt like we were too good for the neighborhood. And so whenever like I would play with the kids and stuff with my toys, they would take my shit. I was the youngest kid in the block. And then this guy comes into the picture. Now my stepdad, right? Him and my mom have a baby. We get just, you know, I'm this kid living life, and then like living my life in El Sereno one way, a lot of people I look familiar to me and whatnot, and but kind of not accepted because we felt like we're too good, or they felt like we're too good for the neighborhood. So then to getting pulled out of there, yanked up, you know, because that was not my decision. I'm just going with the flow. Get pulled out, go to the valley, this long ride, for the long journey that I've ever been on, and I get put in this other different environment, middle class area, bunch of white people, and also with this man, now my stepdad, like getting integrated into that family, a bunch of white people, because my stepdad is German. So this gets me bringing back to how I felt. It was a lot of change. It was there was a lot of kind of like I told you before we started, like of trying to feel like of where do I belong, and feeling a bit of like an outcast. So I felt I would kind of keep it to myself. I wouldn't talk about it, but yeah, there was I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be, you know, a part. But then there was also a part of me that just kind of just didn't feel like I was maybe good enough, or you know, I was just I felt less than, and because there wasn't nothing really familiar around. Um, it could have been all in my own head, you know what I mean? Because that my family is very loving towards me and everything, but my stepdad side of the family, but and supportive and everything. But at that time, it was having to adjust. It was a lot of stuff that I didn't talk about, but a lot of internal conflict and trying to figure shit out.
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate your honesty, and I appreciate the information that you're providing, because it
Yeah.
provides us a unique insights into who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And these life experiences oftentimes, although traumatic, right, serve as those building blocks,
Yeah.
better and greater things. And it's unfortunate that we have to experience them along that journey. And when you talked about, you know, being an outsider, right? In sociology, we talk about in-group versus out-group membership, and how the out-group is constantly looking for an opportunity at times to become a member of the in-group. And when they don't find that opportunity to join the in-group, well, they kind of break off and do their own thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they break off and create their own identity. And in addition to that, you know, as I'm listening to your words, I'm also thinking about how you talked about, you know, this inferiority feeling, right? I'm thinking about the fact that in our society today, and I'm thinking about, I don't know how old you are. I'm 34, but I'm
I'm
thinking,
30. I'll be 39 on the 28th.
okay, so yeah, so we're in a similar age group,
Right.
and so I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about how we grew up, and if I was supplanted from, you know, growing up in East LA and then Montebello to all of a sudden going to a completely different community, this idea of the inferiority complex that's promoted um, toward ethnic and racial minorities within our society. right? This idea that we're made to feel less than at times, and it may not be overtly, right? People may not necessarily walk up to us and call us, A, B, and C names, but it's the culture that we grew up in. It's the
Yeah.
culture that we live
It's
in.
even like, I'm just gonna give an example. Maybe this is a very simple example. Maybe
Yeah.
it's like, you're amongst a group of kids and they're passing out ice creams, and maybe you're always kind of the last one to get it. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Or like, just even the tone in which someone says something to you as opposed to somebody else. And there were just little things that made me feel. I mean, there was big things too. I mean, even when I was actually in high school, I had this one comment from this one teacher. I was in honors chemistry, and I remember it to this day. She goes, "Oh, all you cholos are the same."
Wow.
And listen, man, I wore. I mean, I hung out with some street kids and everything, but I come from a loving home, man. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my mom was a very loving mother and church going and everything. But my point is to say, like, I wasn't walking around like puro chingon,
Mm-hmm.
like all tatted up and everything. I mean, I have tattoos now and everything, but like at that time, for her to tell me that, I said, did I have a shaved head? Maybe I had short hair, but I was just like, I was like, wow, okay, wow, you know what I mean? Like just her perspective on who I was.
Oh, certainly. And that's incredibly powerful what you just said, because I talk to my students about that a lot of times where, you may move into a new neighborhood and or a new state. Let's say you move to Arizona, right? And as long as you play by the rules, people will view us as similar but different.
Mm-hmm.
But the minute you step out of line, well, you're just another
Yeah.
whatever,
Uh-huh.
right? And how we as ethnic and racial minorities always have to, and it's a disadvantage to us. This is an illustration of white privilege, right? We always have to carry that burden of how am I going to make sure that I'm still tolerated
Yeah.
and that I don't fulfill whatever stereotype that these individuals have because there was no basis for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I still even have some of that. I mean, like I'm a very loving person, outgoing person, because I choose to be, but I also feel I've always kind of been conditioned to be that way just because of how I look. Like if I didn't smile all the time and kind of had a straight face or whatever, I feel like I would be looked at differently just because I have a harder look or whatnot. So um, at least that's how I come to believe, because I noticed something was off, or there was something there. So I felt like I had to disarm people or whatever, like, so, to smile, hey, how you doing, or just be very kind to or overly, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
overdo it just to make sure that everyone know I'm okay. I'm not, I'm not trying to cause no problems. I'm not trying, you know what I mean. I'm a good guy, right? And it's always, like I said, I've conditioned myself to do that just because I don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
Does that
And
make sense?
oh yeah, oh definitely. And you just every statement that you're making fits into sociology perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I mention this is this idea that as ethnic and racial minorities, we have to carry with us two personas because we constantly have that burden of making sure that people are comfortable at the cost of what? Not being able to be our true self 24.
Yeah, dog.
Yeah, you may not want to smile 24/7, right?
Yeah.
You may legitimately be pissed off walking down the street, but you have to think to yourself, shit, if I show that I'm a pissed off, people are going to respond to me in a negative manner. And this is going to bring about negative results in my direction. And why is it that in our society, we have to carry that burden, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it in our society that we could be one person among our friends and our family, but to the outside world, we have to be someone completely different, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the challenge I think that a lot of us have, especially within our age group, where we grew up in a different America than our parents did.
Yeah.
Right. Our
Different.
parents grew up in America, in an America post, shortly after the civil rights movement, right, where racial tensions were still high and people were still starting to learn how to navigate through those extended civil rights. And we grew up in an era of, to a degree, privilege, because a
Yeah.
lot of the concerns that our parents had, we didn't necessarily have growing up, where, hey, shit, someone's talking shit to me, I can talk shit back, right? Oh, you're trying to violate my rights? I can speak up because I have this amendment behind me. That's something that many of our families, many of our parents couldn't even think of.
Yeah, you couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about growing up in youth, growing up in the San Fernando Valley. And I'm also thinking about how, how, as I stated before, these building blocks to developing a greater and better self. I wonder if growing up in a predominantly white community at that time, if that had an impact, and I'm going to bounce around a bit, on
Yeah. It's all
how
good.
you negotiate your career in the film industry, in the television industry, considering that most executives, I would imagine, are still whites.
I think I've come a long way since even being a kid. So like I even how I conduct myself now, I to answer your question, I'm sure it affected earlier on, but now I've evolved. Like again, we grow, right? We
Mhm.
evolve. Hopefully, we're evolving as we get older, and I've learned to love and be proud of who I am as a person. And basically, I understand that I'm gonna vibe with some people just right off. Like I'm gonna vibe. People are gonna understand me, and I'm gonna understand people, and we're gonna communicate. Know how to communicate together. And then there's just some people that you just don't vibe with. Then
Yes.
that's okay too. That's okay too. So me understanding that has allowed me to embrace more of who I am, and which is I'm a very because of all the trauma that I've been through, I'm a very confident person. Because I like if I could go through all that and I'm still here the way I am, shit, acting, that's just
Yes.
easy. You know what I mean? Like even when I made the decision to get into this industry, like I told you that my college counselor, like my dream was to be a professional athlete. That was my dream. Acting was just something that was a decision that I made in class because they go painting, drawing, or theater. My college counselor gave me the options, and I said, well, painting I can't do to save my life. Drawing, well, painting sound boring. Drawing I can't do to save my life. So let me try the theater class. So but my approach is how I do anything is how I do everything. I sat up front in the class. I listened to what acting was all about. Susan Hinshaw was the instructor, and she talked about acting was creating characters and telling stories. I didn't even actually get up and perform. I just listened to what acting was about, creating characters and telling stories. Like, wait a minute, I can make a living creating characters and telling stories. I've always loved storytelling. My grandma used to tell me stories when I was little for me to go to bed, but I wouldn't go to sleep because I want to hear more stories. So I was so
Mhm.
passionate about it. I go, wait a minute. I'm a good-looking dude. I have a look, an interesting look or whatever. If I just put forth the same work ethic that I did towards athleticism, towards this, I'll figure the rest out. Whatever the rest is, the business side of it, I'll figure it out. And that's what I did. But my confidence came from all the trauma that I've been through. And I was like, let me just use this confidence I had in my work ethic and ask questions and find my way there. And that's what I did. In regards to like meetings and how I conducted myself and stuff, yeah, I'm sure early on I wanted to fit in or be liked, and there was a bit of insecurity. Even though I'm confident, you still have your insecurities. And again, wanting to belong and fit in that group. I was trying, let's put it that way. I was trying to an extent.
Mhm.
And what I've ultimately learned over time is don't try. You don't need to try. Just be you. Be you, and that's enough. And, transparency, I think, in life is key. the more you learn about who you are as a person and honest with yourself about who you are, that transparency will be seen, and the people that get it will understand it, and that's who you should be working with, and be involved with in life in general. People that understand you, but you got to understand yourself first.
And that's a very powerful point, that understanding yourself, because in your industry, you're challenged to be someone else every other day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And fulfill the roles of these characters and buy into these characters.
Al,
And
if I can stop you for a second, Al.
Yeah, of course.
I'll say that in my case, every character I play is me as that. So, I mean, like Eric Morales is, his characteristics are very much of who I am. I mean, I'm gonna kind of boast about myself, but it's just what the breakdown of the character was: charming, like kind of like the homie next door. A lot of things that I have in my own personality, but I didn't try to play this guy. I just played me in that scenario. You feel me?
Okay. Yes.
So the only reason I bring that up is because you say I have to, as an actor, be these other people. My personal technique is I don't try to be anything else. I am me as that.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And thank you for that. I've never acted before, so going based on other discussions and all that. But that being said, if I was to ask you today to define your sense of self, to tell me exactly who JJ is, mm-hmm. How would you define yourself?
Someone who's relentless, ambitious, positive. I'm water. I know how I handle the ebbs and flows in life. I'm not. I could talk about this. I mean, I challenge myself. I don't seek other people's approval in general. Everything is truly about my own journey. I look at life very selfishly. I'm very giving. Whether it be my time, my energy. I give a lot. I give a lot of myself, even in this interview. What I'm telling you, all the things I'm telling you. I'm very much a giver, but the reason I'm that way is because I've done so much of looking at life as I've already won. And this is kind of like a bigger answer than what you asked for, but like, this is how I look at life. We have already won just by having the opportunity to be here and have the opportunity to experience, period. Experience, period. That means experience the ups and the downs, right? And because I have this perspective, and I challenge myself to be water and flow with how life goes. It's made for a winning formula in how I experience this life. I've won already, and now I'm just creating this story. I'm creating my movie, as we all are. You're the star of your own movie, Al.
Yes.
Right. And at the end of the day, when I die, I just want to. When I'm looking back on it, I want to make a movie worth watching. You feel me? So JJ is someone who is motivated, passionate, driven, and just trying to be the best person, trying to live the best life I can. I challenge myself to be the bestest friend I could be, the bestest listener I could be, the best neighbor. You know what I mean? Just the best I can be, period. So that when I finally die, I can be okay with my effort that I gave to life. I know, like I said, it's a bigger answer than what you're asking for, but that encompasses who I am. I guess you could say I'm really passionate for life.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer, actually. And if you were taking my introduction to sociology class, I would say if you wrote that on your essay, you'd get an A.
Right on.
That's what we're looking for, right? I'm not looking for the hey, I like, the Dodgers and I like this. No, that doesn't tell me anything about yourself. What you're telling me right now is what makes you unique. So my
Yeah.
question to you is, who motivates you?
Honestly, me. Like, again, I told you earlier before we started, I didn't
Mhm.
have a father figure. I yearned for that father figure. My grandfather, my mom's dad, was for a very short period of time my father figure, and then my uncle Rudy, my mother's brother, was kind of a father figure for a little bit. But like, so I had to kind of raise myself, understanding like, dog. I mean, all the shit that I've been through. I mean, I used to get teased for being a little bit heavy, and I used to cry. I used to pray to God, crying in the shower that I lose weight. Like, I didn't have no one to turn to, and like, and be like. I mean, my mom would. If I would have went to my mom, she would have loved me, and she would do her best. But like, no one was there to teach me how to be a man, but me. And I had to look at my life and figure out what it was that I needed to do to be the man that I wish was there for me.
Yes.
Woo!
Yes. And that's a great
That's
point.
the real shit, dog. That's the
Yes.
real shit. I had to, I had to be my own father, and didn't. Should I forgot what the question was? I just kind of reflected.
Oh, basically, who motivates you?
Oh yeah, who motivated? Yeah, it was me, dog. It was me. I remember one of my the football captain on my team, Armand. He said he is this big black dude, linebacker. I wish I looked like him. I wish I played like him. You know what I'm saying? So there's a guy I admire, and I think I was in 10th grade, and he turned to me during one of our early practices, and he goes, "You're self-motivated," because I guess he must have heard me talking to myself or whatever, and that's always been me. I've always been self-motivated. I've always been driven to be better. I don't have any, but I definitely find inspiration in people in general. Because I look for it, and I find inspiration in people that are I'm a pretty neat guy, but people who are more neat, people who are very organized or just do things better, I admire. But as far as my motivation, it's really come from my inner self of just wanting to be the best version of myself.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And thank you for that response. I only have a few more questions. And this is like a question with A, B, C, D, E connected to it.
Mhm.
So in my class, I have my students do a project called the Coming Out Star. It's a project that I borrowed from a professor at USC, and that relates to the LGBT community. But there are aspects of that project that I use for my everyday lectures and in my interviews. And part of that project challenges students to identify who are those significant others in your life, those individuals who you can find comfort in, those individuals that inspire you to achieve more. And so I'm going to borrow from that project, and I'm going to ask you several quick questions. And the first person that pops in your head,
Mhm.
who is that family member that you can go to and you can disclose anything to, that you can shed as many tears as you need to, and just have a very real and honest conversation with?
Woo, my eyes get watery. Just think about it. It's my mom, man.
Yeah.
Woo, my eyes get watery. Yeah, my mom, bro. That's my queen. You know, like we've been through so much together, me and my mom.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. And sorry, I didn't want to bring those tears
No,
to
no,
your
no,
eyes,
no.
but
Bro.
yeah.
I listen. Like I told you, I'm an open book. I'm very confident in crying or just being
Yeah.
myself. You know, matter of fact, thank you for that question, because it
Oh,
makes me
thank you.
again just tap into that love I have for my mother.
Yeah,
So my
definitely.
mother is that person. You know, I would probably be. I mean, like my cousin, who I consider my brother, uh, artist. He he's someone else I could talk to. Not necessarily. I'm not seeking advice from him,
Hmm.
but actually, I'm not seeking advice from either one of them. But I definitely know they're there for me when I need to vent or share thoughts.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now the next person that related to this project would be, who is that friend,
Mm.
that person that you can turn to? And you don't have to give me the, actual
Name.
name. You can make a
Copy,
pseudo
copy.
name. That's fine. But do you have that person, that friend that's like a brother to you or like a sister to you that you can turn to and they have your back 24/7?
I have a nice group of people. You know what? It's so interesting. You asked me this question now, and I'm sure there are. I'm sure that my friends would, but I'm not. I'm usually the person people come to.
Gotcha.
You know, and I'm rarely the person. I have usually. I think I vent to maybe someone that I'm seeing. Um, to be honest, I know it's been here and there. The people that I've gone to. Maybe I could think of one.
Yeah.
But usually those moments I kind of keep to myself, and I try to work through them.
Gotcha. Now that leads to the next question, borrowing from this project. Do you have a group that you identify with? And this is always a question that gets my students kind of like, what do you mean a group? Because we don't label our groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not like the old school party days where you had your party
The
crews.
party crew.
Yeah, yeah. And you had that logo on MySpace or whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But do you have like that group? Like for me, for example, I smoke cigars. And so my buddy's shop was called the Main Stogie in Alhambra. And so I would identify, if I was asking this question, the Main Stogie group, because of the same guys I smoked cigars with for the last 6 or 7 years. Do you have like a group that you guys do, a handful of activities with on a consistent basis? And if you were just throw a label on them, what would they be called?
Dude, I have this group of friends. It's a beautiful group of people. We have this 60-day fitness challenge group, and we do it every 60 days. Like so, and it's actually a group. Sorry, actually talking about motivation and stuff. We all motivate each other, or we challenge each other basically, and there's motivation within that to keep ourselves this temple to the best to the best of our ability in this group. And we talk, we can talk about life, we talk about fitness, and so yeah, that's our 60-day fitness challenge group. But it goes beyond just the not, I shouldn't say just the physical, because the physical is very important. Actually, I don't, because I feel like for some reason people dilute the importance of, they say that people think that because you take care of your body, you're shallow or whatever. It's not true, man. This is our temple. This is our
Yes.
temple. So like, yes, our mind and body. We talk about keeping everything right, stay motivated, work hard. And that's my 60-day fitness challenge group.
All right, great. Thank you. That's awesome. Now, only two more parts of this. The other part is, I ask my students, what's your dream career? And I'd assume, maybe I'm wrong, that acting's your
You know
dream
what?
career,
I'm
but,
actually going to go back on something. I'm going to go back
yeah,
on
yeah,
something.
go ahead.
My cast from Gentefied is actually another group that I would turn to when maybe it's venting or something, because that we are definitely a family. That slipped my mind for the moment, but like that group, that's what makes the show. So I'm bringing it back to the show for a second.
Yeah.
Say that the reason that show is so special is because the chemistry and the unit that we have, we really are like a family. We even during this pandemic and stuff, we will like Zoom party each other, or like we'll we spend some time together and check up on one another, and so that's another unit of people I turn to if there's something that's on my mind or whatever.
Oh, definitely.
I
Definitely.
have to go back to that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So as far as dream career goes,
Dream career?
yes. What do you hope to accomplish in your career?
Well, specifically to do a combat film where I'm a lead in like a film that where I have to use stuff like martial arts and boxing, things like that. A military, like think Black Hawk Down kind of rugged military film, where I got to really learn tactical training and whatnot. I love that. I look to produce. There's a project right now that I'm looking to produce. I'm very early stage. I have to see if I can get rights to it. But there's some projects I would like to produce. And then that's just with acting, you know. I'm currently working on creating a podcast, and some other endeavors that I just, it's all on my mind right now. But that's career-wise.
Now, let me ask you this final question related to this topic. At the end of your life, and I hope you live another, 50, 60 years.
Thanks. I hope so too.
And at the end of your life, when you reflect back, what would you have ultimately loved to accomplish? And this is across all fields.
Well, I'll tell you, I think about this stuff a lot. I think about death a lot. It's a great motivator for me. And I like to share this, my way of thinking with your class, which is, I think about death a lot because for me, I say, wow, you could go at any moment, even pre-COVID. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can go, like, get hit by a car, or just, there's so many ways, right? If you actually, you know what, I pay attention to nature a lot, and I look how, you know what nature I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but it makes sense.
Oh, good. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing nature's taught me is that life is not fair. So, kids in your class, listen, man. You know, there's gonna be so many challenges in life, and you're gonna ask yourself, "Damn, why this? Why that? Why isn't my life like so-and-so's? Or, you know, why are they privileged and I'm not?" Well, you know what? Their answer is because this is your life. But you have to look at those challenges. The number one thing to know, realize, and accept is that life isn't fair. You've already won by having the opportunity at life and to experience, period. Okay? So the challenge for you is for your own personal challenge. Stop comparing yourself to everyone else's experience of this thing called life. It's yours, right? So how are you going to make the best of it? And I bring that back to death to say, because it could happen at any time, I'm motivated. I'm excited because I'm like, what do I have control over? I have control over how I experience this whole thing. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, shit, if I could go at any time, I'm going to enjoy the shit out of this thing. It doesn't matter if I am on vacation somewhere, or filming in an exotic jungle somewhere, or if I'm doing my freaking laundry. You know, I am going to enjoy this whole experience of life because that's what I have control over. So I think it's really important to keep that in perspective, that as long as you got air in your lungs and the capability of your body, and just focus on what you have to be grateful for. I have a quote that I made up. Look at life through a lens of gratitude, and everything that matters will come into focus. Look at life through a lens of gratitude, and everything that matters will come into focus. When you look at life that way, it amplifies the experience. So what I want to accomplish in my life is and I'm doing it already. I've been doing it all my life, which is to inspire people to live to their full potential, and to inspire people. So that's my overall goal, to impact people's life, to where that when someone says, "Hey, yo, you deal, JJ," and if their first reaction is they smile, I accomplished my goal, because that means whatever experience they had with me, it made them feel that way, right? To smile, you know what I mean? So, and again, I think there's a saying: people don't remember what you did; they remember how you made them feel.
Yes.
So I want, whenever you hear the name JJ, it's attached to a feeling that brings a smile to your face. That's super impactful. That's huge to me. That's huge. Not creating a bunch of schools. I mean, like that, I think all those things are great, but that's not my number one priority. My number one priority is I keep life simple, man. I keep life simple. I do what's in my control every day, and I focus, like I said, look at life through a lens of gratitude, and everything that matters comes into focus. And one of the things that are in my control is how I affect people on a daily basis, how I look at my life. Yeah, when I look back on my life, I know I'm gonna be at peace because I've given my full effort in every which way.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's incredibly powerful. And can you repeat that quote again?
Look at life through a lens of gratitude and everything that matters will come into focus. So imagine every time you put, like, you should just put these imaginary bifocals on. And like, and this is what I do. I wake up, oh man, I'm so grateful for another day. I got air in my lungs. I'm so grateful that I have the ability to get up and walk 5 paces to my shower. I'm so grateful for the ability to choose what kind of shower do I want. Do I want a hot shower or a cold shower? Now, because we are so privileged in this country, we don't understand that it's a fucking privilege.
Yes.
You got people that have to walk from a hut through a jungle full of predators to get to a river to take an ice cold bath in a freaking river. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've already found from the moment I woke up to the moment I got to the shower, I've already found like 5 different things I could be grateful for. By the time I got to go to my kitchen, I got 7 more of the things I could be grateful for. You know what I'm saying? The fact that my food is right here in my kitchen. You know, like, I got a roof over my head. I got an air conditioner that I could choose, you know, what temperature I want. And the reason I have this ability is because I look at life through those lenses of gratitude. And I'm telling you, when you do that, you got to pay attention. You got to pay attention to what's going on here. We have so many thoughts throughout the day. Really listen to the mind. Don't drown out what's going on in your head with the music, and pay attention to what you're listening to. Because if all you're listening to is some shit about bling, blang, this and that and whatever, you're going to be chasing that, and you're not going to be happy until you get that. And actually, you might, once you get that, you're going to realize that that's not really even what makes you happy.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, again, that's why I told you earlier, what I've found out in life, most of the answers that you are seeking in life dwell within yourself. And look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what do I really want? Not what society tells me is important. What do I really want? There was a time that I wanted my name to be alongside Al Pacino and Robert De Niro and DiCaprio, all these name things, because that's what the industry and society told me I'm supposed to be chasing. When I asked JJ, what really matters to me, like, because I used to think that I wanted an Academy Award and all this. I don't need any of that. I don't need any, like, for my experience to be fulfilled, I just gotta look at whatever I'm doing and be proud. I don't need to have everyone else telling me. I don't need to be glorified in order to be fulfilled. I just need to look in that mirror and be like, are you proud of what you did? Are you proud? You know what I'm saying? A lot of times we're pressured subconsciously to feel like we have to have the biggest house, the biggest this, the biggest that, or the most of things. When I've realized for myself, I'm actually a minimalist. I don't need a bunch of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So to find out for yourself, look in the mirror and ask yourself, why are you making the decisions that you're making? Is it because your parents told you, society told you, the media told you, the people around you told you, or is it because you really feel like this is what you really want? Does that all make sense?
Oh yeah, that makes sense perfectly, and I appreciate that. Now I only have one last question for you.
Yeah.
And so you're on the show Gentefied. In your opinion, what does that show mean to our community?
Okay. What does the show mean to our community? From what I have been told, people feel like they've been acknowledged. They feel like like that's their story, right? And that's actually how, when I read the script, that's how I was like, oh shit, this is my life. when I was reading the dialogue in the pilot, I go, wait, I've had these discussions with my cousins, right? And this is how we talk. We talk shit to each other this way. You know what I'm saying? Like, so to be recognized, that's one thing our community has told me via DM or in person, that they feel like they've been acknowledged. That so it makes them feel important. It makes them feel recognized. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. And then, sorry, one last part of that. What does being on the show mean to you?
What does it mean to me? How do I answer that? Because I've the truth is I didn't get into this I love storytelling, right? It is a true honor, and I don't use those words often. It's a true honor to be a member of Gentefied because it's so impactful to our community. That being said, the simple answer is it means it's priceless to me because I'm getting to make something that is impactful, and like, wow, that's really cool to impact so many people through this. But also for me, on a personal level, it's like it's priceless and so meaningful to me because I'm working on a project that there's so many stars, and I mean like people, you know, not Hollywood stars, even though they are just as hot, they're that type of star too, but star people, man. There's so many gems from the cast and the crew and the producers. There's so many gems on this project, and it's so made with so much love that that I'm just grateful to be a part of that unit. So that's why it means a lot to me.
That's wonderful. And you know, I appreciate all your honesty. I appreciate all the information and insight that you provided about your life and, you know, about your role on the show and just everything in general. You know, I hope this really helps my students understand, you know, who they're becoming as they
Yeah.
progress through life.
Let me say to them, your students, that again, I think the biggest thing, the biggest lesson I've learned in my going to be 39 years of experience of life is to be honest with yourself, be honest with others. Is that I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said before, but for some reason, I feel like it's been a secret. Like what we're talking about is what is the most important thing in life, I believe. You know, because we're constantly trying to fill a void or feel something by exterior things, whether it be materialistic or other people. We're trying to fulfill something within ourselves by reaching out, when what we need to do is go in, and which is what you're telling your students to do right now, which is, I think, is the most important thing. The truth shall set you free. It really will. And it starts with looking in that mirror, and I've literally done it butt-ass naked, literally. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving you all of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm being completely transparent. And I've had conversations with myself about like who I'm on, you know, being honest with myself. And once you can learn, that's why I'm so good at what the fuck I do. I'll tell you right now, I'm my biggest fan. I'm my most constructive critic, but I'm dope at what I do because I'm this transparent in life. If you want to be successful, be transparent with yourself and then with others, and it will be reciprocated, I believe. Maybe not always, because some people they're scared to go there, but that's what you need to do. You need, especially if you feel scared about doing it. That's why you should do it. It's the simplest thing to do, but not the easiest.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's true.
Going into yourself is and figuring all this shit is simple. The actual task of thinking and going through your thoughts, it's a simple task, but to actually do the work is not easy, because it requires you to be honest with yourself and sometimes be disappointed. You know, sometimes like, damn, I'm not being I'm not being the person who I want to be. Well, why not? Well, this, and that, and that. No, shit. Right? I'll give you a prime example. Right now, I am not physically where I want to be because, I've made the decisions like eating too much or doing whatever the fuck I'm doing and I go, okay, well, why am I not succeeding in this area? Well, because of my lack of discipline. That makes me ashamed of myself because I know that I could do better. And here I'm telling you about how I give life my full effort, but I'm not backing it up right now in this regard. So that's right there. I'm being honest with myself and with you about myself. That's the type of shit you got to do on a daily basis. And if you start doing that, the truth will set you free, and you'll be able to accomplish more stuff in life because you're gonna ask yourself what's hindering you from making that move. Why don't you have the confidence to do that? It's all inside. It's not because no one's giving you the opportunity or this and that. You'll create your opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can keep going on and on, but just students, you guys, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, just do the work on the inside, and I promise you'll set you free to do whatever you want in your life.
Those are powerful words, and I really appreciate you providing that insight and, you know, your own experiences and how that motivates you, because I think at times, especially, you know, when you start to look at the demographics of the students that I teach and my colleagues teach at the community college level, we're talking about individuals from marginalized groups. We're talking about individuals who grew up in poverty or low-income households. We're talking about individuals who may have come from a single-parent household, you know, a wide variety of factors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And finding that motivation to continue and to see that self-worth. And that's why I tell students, and we were talking about this earlier, it doesn't matter if it takes you 2 years to get out of community college or it takes you 8 years to get out of community college.
Took me 5.
Yeah. Exactly. And at the end of the day, when you walk across that stage from a 4-year university, you're one of 30% of Americans who hold that bachelor's degree. And that's something that no one could ever take away from you. And so this aspect of self-motivation and believing in yourself in general is such a powerful concept. But thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, it's all
I
good.
really appreciate it.
That's all love. I guess one last thing I'll say is that like, you should look at those experiences, the trauma that you've had in your life, the challenges, the hurdles. All of those things make you stronger. They make you better. Like every time, even this pandemic, I was like, all right, listen. Obviously, it's for society and you know, a lot of death and all that stuff going on. I mean, there's death going on all the time, regardless. But the hurdles is what I'm trying to get at. All these hurdles that you jump, they are just a testament to show you how strong you really are. So people like us that don't have that privilege as others, these challenges that you face, they make you stronger. And you should use that as like as a way to motivate yourself. Like, damn, I'm bad. Like, you know, this is what I'm strong enough to come through this. You know what I'm saying? To go through this because I've already been through this, because where I come from. You know what I'm saying? It's not the in Beverly Hills, or it's not, you know what I'm saying, Calabasas, or, you know, I didn't grow up, you know what I mean? I remember when me and my mom had food stamps, you know what I mean? Like, use that to empower you. Be your biggest fan as well as your most constructive critic. Stop waiting for someone to tell you that you're good enough. Stop waiting for someone to tell you, to give you approval to go after that. Like, start telling yourself it. Like, that people are waiting for someone else to tell them, waiting for you to tell them. No, you got to tell yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Take that leap of faith.
Yes.
Right. Take that leap of faith.
The one thing we know for a fact, you can believe in whatever you want, a God or this and the other, but one thing you know for a fact is that this is the one life you got.
Yes.
So you better make the most of it. You better make the most of the star. You are a star in your movie. You're an actor, whether you want to believe it or not. You know what I'm saying? You're a star in your own movie. So make that movie the best you can make it.
Exactly. And you know, hopefully this video, as when students watch this, you know, provides that motivation. I'm motivated now, and you know, and let's just continue to, you know, to push forward and and do amazing things. And you're doing amazing things with your career. You're
Thank
doing
you.
amazing things. You know, just the fact that we're communicating right now. This is what we need in our community, right?
Yeah.
That support, regardless of what field of work that you're in. We all need to collaborate and support each other. So if there's anything in the future, if I can help you with anything, I don't know, sociology related, education related, right? You're doing some type of community event where, you know, you need someone to help the kids transition or prepare for college. Just, you have my number, right? Send me a
Yeah.
text and I'm
Thank
there.
you, bro.
Yeah,
I
anything I
appreciate
can
it.
do.
Well, you're already doing it. You know what I mean? By educating the students and sharing and giving me this opportunity to, you know, share my experience to help others. So you're already doing it. So I
Yeah,
appreciate what you're
yeah,
doing.
thank you.
It's all love. And yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right, great. Thank you so much.
all love, man.
All right.
All the students, everybody, keep believing in yourself. And remember, you got one shot at life. Look at life through a lens of gratitude, and everything that matters will come into focus.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I'm gonna actually put that on my website if that's okay. And I always should
Yeah.
give you credit for that. I'm gonna add that to
Yes,
my
please
website. I'm
give me
gonna yeah.
credit.
And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tag you from my faculty Instagram page,
Right on.
and I'm gonna put that quote up there and just giving students, you know, the heads up. Hey, check out this discussion and all that kind of stuff. So you'll be
It's a
seeing
pleasure
that pretty
talking to
soon.
you, Al.
All right, thank you. Have a great day.
Later, bro.
All right, thanks. Take care.